Yeah, we're at this cemetery where one of our shipwrecked people were born. Let me see. Is that him?
No, right here, the phone.
Right here?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get it.
And I'm up in Manchester, helping pull together a program for the education community where we got a youth program. And one of the things
Yeah.
show the Amistad film and then came down to talking about going on a ship. But now that I know
Yeah, that was African nation who was drowned, native who was drowned while bathing in the center facing 1841. He was one of the
Yeah, we just setting up right
one
now.
of the
Just give me a few minutes, we just setting up.
cleats on the board of the schooner Ampersand, which asserted their rights and took possession of the vessel after having put captain, mate, and officers to death for sparing their masters. What's his name? Rosine Montez. Rosine and Montez.
Use the right words.
So they need, because words mean something.
Yeah.
Brother Jamalki putting his flowers on part of the spiritual ritual. He's the spiritual leader out here for this group of NCOBRA. He's going to feed the brother.
So this says he was drowned intentionally?
No. I'll tell the story.
Oh, okay. I'll wait. Jamaica, you want to give everybody something to place?
Sure. Doesn't make sense.
So we'll do like this. We'll do like this.
Beautiful day. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let me let you talk to
Part of our ritual is putting flowers and food to
All right.
regard to the ancestors.
So you can pick a fruit. There's also some peppers in here. And say a prayer. We put it by the gravesite. Oranges, apples, bananas.
Is anybody dry?
What do you want, Joe?
Pass a bag around.
You want banana?
On the ground?
Yeah, just on the banana.
Oh yeah, Lisa, yeah.
Whatever's left.
What's ever left?
Okay. Yeah. But yeah. So but no, we just getting started. So y'all can come on this time. Okay.
Put it on.
Do you like bananas?
You want to put it on? You want to put it on?
Yeah, you want to eventually put it all out. The beauty about
I'm gonna give him a
ancestors
banana.
at the gravesite is not only our personal intentions of honoring them for what they've done for African people, but when other people walk out here and they see everything that's over here, they're gonna know that's a special person. You know, they're gonna know that that person is special in some form or fashion, and that's another way of honoring them.
Jamoke bringing the NCOBRA summer.
Yes.
All of the NCOBRA members took part in the ritual to deal with the fruit, the flowers. I guess pretty soon the minister will tell the story.
So at the bottom is a repeat of what's on the on the.
Oh, these things are old.
1889, 1866.
The most part of
So
the
is this mixed or are these all black people? Or are they mixed them together?
I don't know.
they probably
It's mostly white here.
You're from here?
I am. I'm from from Hartford.
Oh.
Let me say it differently. I live.
Are you from the museum?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, ma'am. They
They
should.
have a meeting coming up on the 18th.
They should have.
Probably
No
won't
more
nobody
than that.
do
Although I've worked with the which museum that you picked?
The Amistad.
That's them.
The look tells it all.
Yeah, that's them.
Yeah, they have a meeting with a bunch of our different African American sites like ours on the 18th.
I had an interesting debate 22 years ago, I guess, or 3, with the founding director.
Yeah.
And I got into a discussion about art, black art. If you are in the field, you know that's a thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, I stepped right on in and wrestled with it, right?
Yeah.
I just left Chicago,
All right.
and Margaret Burroughs had just gifted me with 2 of her prints in my church. So, I had some opinion.
Yeah. She didn't like it.
Ooh.
It's gonna be interesting. So are you part of something about
You have to position it so that it ain't green.
the arts group out of Chicago?
I'm not, but I mean, I was before.
I found something different because I just had a thing with
that is the
Africa.
NCOBRA symbol
Or we can put a rock up under
of the
it.
snake
Yeah.
and the chain.
Oh, it wasn't all the way down. Does it go? No, it is.
That's wood hold.
And you need a brick on it.
Get running. 1840.
Turns out that there were a couple of people who thought that we were leaving the hotel at 10 as opposed to starting the ceremony. So they're coming on
They coming.
Alita and
And I started
Yeah,
asking
Linda
you
Gap,
about
right.
that. I said, when I didn't see Gary's ones, I thought maybe they had gone already.
yeah. So I told them, it's 20 minutes. I told them, come on over there and at least we're just getting started. So they'll get here before we leave. Yeah. Or at the end, they'll get here.
No, see.
At least he's down there now, so very good.
Yeah.
You need some shield.
Yeah, take you around catch.
Yeah.
Is there some more stuff in here?
Let me try this.
Give one piece to
Yeah. Doing a little bit.
Just take one piece to
just the
hold
whole
it.
for now.
Oh,
Share some with others when they get here.
We gotta wait for the others before we start.
From?
So in the African
each person
tradition,
to hold one piece. And we'll put it on later. Hold some.
so in the African tradition, or in the West African tradition, put it that way, because we have different African spirituality traditions throughout the diaspora, and we all practice things in a different manner. But there's one thing that's consistent in the African spirituality is that they believe that oil comes to the marketplace, which is the earth, for a specific reason. You have a destiny. And anything that you take your oil to, the oil is the river word for head. And anything that you put anything that you are in agreement with, you're supposed to acknowledge it with your order. So if you attended spirituality with anyone or practiced some type of African spirituality, they will ask you to tap your head 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then tap your heart 3 times, 1, 2, 3. And what that does is that gives your intention to whatever it is that you're doing. Okay? So to honor this ancestor, we're going to tap 3 times, 1, 2, 3. Tap our hearts 3 times, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to give our offering. Now, the offerings that we give, usually we put at the foot of the Orisha Eshu. Because Eshu is the Orisha that carries our sacrifice to heaven. Carries whatever our intentions are to be manifested in the universe, Eshu carries it. So what we do is we sing, when we take our offerings to wherever we're going to take them, we sing a song to Eshu for Eshu to carry the offering. I'm not a singer, y'all, but I'm gonna try to sing a song while we give this offering on behalf of this ancestor, and we want all of our prayers in heaven, all of our prayers and intentions to be taken to heaven to honor this particular person of our ancestry that has shown the strength of Ogun.
Sure.
And the might, even when the odds were stacked against him. So here I go, y'all. Don't videotape this.
This is part of the ritual.
Already FSU, OSU, Baolo, Baolo. 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 Already FSU, OSU, Baolo, Baolo.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ashe, Adupe, Madasi, Shakran. Thank you. This is Yummy Patel. So welcome to the Reparations Sunday. This is a tradition that was started before I joined NCOBRA. I joined NCOBRA in 1996 when the convention came to Atlanta. And at that gathering in Atlanta, we had a very powerful ceremony. We had a reenactment of the ring shout. We also brought out the Egungun dancers, which are traditional African ancestors. We also had a live band that performed while the ring shout was going on, while Baba Askia Touré was doing a poem in honor of the ring shout. And then it closed with Dr. Leonard Jeffries giving a powerful ceremony, powerful keynote speech. And that was the spiritual ceremony on that Sunday in Atlanta. So these have always been very organic and very, we listen to the Spirit and see how we got it to do these. Whenever we've had these, since the Ashe Committee has been coordinating them since 2005, we always partner with a local priest or spiritual healer in the local city to give us where we need to go, what ancestors we need to honor specifically. And then usually myself and that spiritual person will kind of work back and forth on what ideas that come to us around how to do the honoring. So in this case, we were blessed to have Bishop John Selders, and he told me just call him Bishop John, or just John, to be that spiritual guide for us here in Hartford. And so we talked and we decided that this was the place that we needed to be for today. And it's interesting because initially, when I first started to do the research on Hartford, one of the first things that came up was the Amistad, and we thought about going to the replica of the ship, and yet we still ended up honoring the Amistad. And this is the Amistad minister, because he's actually the pastor at a church called Amistad. So we got the Amistad minister to lead us in the Amistad ceremony honoring. So at this time, I just asked him to open us up with a prayer, and we will continue.
Join me. Gracious, loving, almighty, everlasting one, we bless you for this opportunity to gather in this space, at this place, in this hour. Pay tribute to our ancestors, to remember.
That's right.
And so, Divine One, meet us here. Ancestors, join us now.
That's right.
Make this ground holy as we do that which is given us to do. We pray in the name of the God we call by many names. Amen and Ashe.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And now he's going to tell us a story to go a little deeper of why we're here and what we're honoring today, the ancestors that we're honoring.
Thank you. I came here 22 years ago. Almost sight unseen. I've been to Hartford a couple of times. Came here with my family, wife and 2 kids. They were little at the time, now they're grown, and I got a grandbaby. But we're about to take on college tour. She's 16 years old, so I've spent a good little piece of time here. When we arrived here, I was fascinated with the story of the Amistad. I serve as pastor of in the United Church of Christ. It is a denomination that got started in the 1950s, but it is a marrying of a number of traditions, free church traditions. Those of you who would go to any town and see congregational church, that would be probably one of the United Church of Christ, one of the United Church of Christ in that space and place. The Congregationists were some interesting people. They claim their lineage to the Mayflower. So they were those that came on the ship, the Mayflower, coming, fleeing religious persecution in Europe. And they landed in Provincetown, now called P-Town. It's funny to me now, that's where the gays show up at. But anyway, that's another story for another time. It is, this story was, I was fascinated with this story. In fact, it was a part of a team that worked with a group of artists that ultimately created the original opera called Amistad in the late 90s. And so I was fascinated with this story. I was coming to this place. So this place where the actual events occurred. And so I wanted to know more. So I called the minister of the church just up the street here. Nobody answered. Called him for almost a year. Nobody answered. Nobody returned the call. So one day I got in my car and drove over here and descended on the white people that were here. And they nervously greeted me. The minister then had come around, the staff was there, and the minister came around. Oh yes, he had met me at one of the meetings. And there began a good friendship. He introduced me to this spot, introduced me to the story, and I became just overwhelmed with what this meant and what it means. So let me tell you the story. Anybody seen the movie? Seen the movie? If you've seen the movie is not necessarily the most historically accurate. So let me try to name some of the things that are, Steven Spielberg was he made a movie. This is our life and our story. As you know, the Africans that were enslaved, West Africa, boarded several ships, in fact. One of them was called the Tukoya. It landed in Cuba. And they'd gotten all gussied up. They gussied up those enslaved people. And they were moving them from one side of Cuba to the other side of Cuba. And Joseph Cinque, his African name is Simbe Pui. Simbe Pui. He was a prince. He was tried. And he and other Mindi decided they wasn't going to take it. I know something about that spirit.
Come on now.
They resisted. And they took over that ship. That was just to move them from one side of the island to the other side of the island in Cuba. And they zigzagged up the coast. They took over the ship, killed up several of the crew, wisely left the captain who could navigate the boat, the assistant officer, and the cook. And they knew they had come from the rising sun. When I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, Muslims, they wanted to sail back that way. So by day they sailed toward the rising sun, and by night, them devils and jokers who was navigating the ship pulled them back to the west. So there goes the zigzag. They landed for provisions on Long Island. There they were spotted by a United States vessel and were captured, brought to New London, Connecticut, which is southeast of here, and then moved from New London to New Haven. There were actually 3 trials of the Mindi people. The first was in a preliminary trial in New Haven, and then ultimately they were moved up here. There were a group of Congregationalists that got involved, an attorney and 2 brothers and the preacher, and what was an abolitionist group led by black folk in Hartford. That never gets told either. James Pennington was the chair of that abolitionist group. And so there was this group that ultimately became the Amistad Committee that then attended to the care of the Mende people. They found a professor down in New York who ultimately had a system of trying to find out what happened, talking to the Mende, because they spoke their language, right? And so they learned how to count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they had a guy went down on the harbor and just counted out loud in that language, and somebody heard him. His name was Covey, and James, I think his name was James. Covey was his first name, his last name, and he said, "That's my language. What you talking about?" He didn't know that was all they could speak, but it was Covey that accompanied the linguist from Yale College at the time, that accompanied them, came to New Haven, ultimately came here, got the story of what happened, and then enlisted, later on in the story, enlisted a former president of the United States, John Quincy Adams, who was at that time serving in Congress. He argued the case. The original trial that sent it to the Supreme Court happened here in Hartford. And if you go downtown, the old State House is where that trial took place. Judge Judson, after praying, it is said, I don't know, I wasn't there. They didn't have no CNN, no breaking news with no cameras. But he said after praying, he knew that the story that the Mende told was the truth. This was an international incident because not only did the captain and the crew claim ownership of our ancestors, the Queen of Spain claimed ownership. And of course they were found in United States waters, so the president and all them people, they was all involved in the whole thing. This was an international incident. It is said that this case that was ultimately argued at the Supreme Court, it's interesting, we're talking about the Supreme Court again right along getting through here. Anyway, this was the first civil rights case argued in this country. 1842, the decision came down and they were freed. And then 1841, 1842, 1843, they toured around the region up in New Hampshire, raising money. And ultimately, the captured 53 returned, leaving one. There are the church that they attended while they were here is right up the street. So if you went up a block and just made a left turn, maybe when we leave here, maybe I'll just drive past it so you can see it. It's a white clay board. It looked like all New England churches around here. That was the church that pastor led his congregation in supporting these. There were 53 of them. They had to eat. They had to get some clothes because it's cold up here. It snows. Thing. And they had to house them, and they raised money and ultimately sent them back to Sierra Leone.
Wow.
And sending with them a young preacher and his wife, and Mr. Covey, who had been communicating with them. That story is not told as well. They went back, and it is said that Sembe never did really find his family, and they don't really know what happened.
They said they were sold into slavery before he got back.
Yeah, so they don't quite know what happened. You know, there's several different versions of that story. What we do know is Margaret, who was a baby, was a little one at that time, came back to the United States, came back here to Connecticut, and ultimately got a degree from Oberlin College in Ohio. So today, there is in September, there's always a visit of either Margou's family or others who were part of that family, and they do ritual here as well. What else I need to tell you? Foon was over here. What they would do is they would go over here and swim and bathe. He got caught in the undertow and drowned. So no, they didn't drown him. White folks are devilish at sometimes, but no, he got caught. There's a canal here. Ultimately, it was the way in which people came from New Haven and the Long Island Sound into the interior, other than the Connecticut River. They would come up the canal. And so there's a waterway that was man-built in part. There's creeks and stuff and tributaries. So where there wasn't one, they built it out and tunneled it out, dug it out, and it goes all the way up just north, a little bit north of here, by the airport, in fact, near where some of you all were staying at. So Foon is here, and we discovered him here. I was walking out here, nobody told me where to go. Oh yeah, he's buried out here. And I came out here and was like, where? And I just walked. And the ancestors in spirit led me there. They then placed, if you look right behind you, there's a marker. The Connecticut folk decided to create a freedom trail. And so everywhere you see this marker that has a lantern with a handle on it and 4 rays shooting out, representing, the light and the freedom trail. And that's the moniker. So that anytime you see that here in the state of Connecticut, there's something that happened with black folk involved in it that they want us to remember. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. I'll add a small addition. The funds that remained after the many people were returned home was used to found Talladega College.
Let's say some more on that. The committee, the Amistad Committee, became the American Missionary Association. So 500 schools and colleges throughout the South on the hill of the Union Army were founded with that money. All right. Not only Talladega, Tougaloo, Howard. Those schools, Dillard comes out of that. Fisk got some of that money. All the schools, many of them were not just colleges, but they were elementary schools. But on the hills of, in fact, we have now found in the Caribbeans, and even as far as Brazil, that money went to educate people. James Pennington, I have to call his name, may he rest in peace. James Pennington was the pastor of what is now Faith Congregational Church. It was the Talcott Street Church where he pastored. He was the leader of an abolitionist group that merged with this group that were trying to care for the Mindy to create what we now call the American Missionary Association, the Amistad Committee. So there was a black man in charge who was a freed enslaved person. All right, and pastored both here in Hartford. He pastored in New Haven for a minute, and ultimately pastored with the Presbyterian Church in New York City, and we believe was the first black American that was conferred a doctorate degree in the country. We believe from Heidelberg, University of Heidelberg in Germany. So this story has lots of different tentacles.
I say.
Thank you for making me remember that.
Wow, awesome.
Amazing history.
Great story. That is awesome.
So, thinking of was just coming to me, thinking of the warrior spirit of what we're really honoring today. We're honoring the bravery and warrior spirit of Sinbad and Foon and others. I thought that it would be good to bring out the shield. This is, I named this the NCOBRA Reparations Shield because you can dance with it. And as I'm sure most of us know, the symbolism of the NCOBRA logo, this was designed by Brother Kalanji, one of the first male co-chair of the NCOBRA. And this symbol is a symbol of a link in Konson, which says that we are linked in life and we are linked in death with our ancestors, and that link cannot be broken. A phrase that we often say in closing the NCOBRA. This is a symbol of a snake climbing a tree, Theory V, and this symbol symbolizes the fact that what seems to be impossible with patience and persistence is possible. There's nothing impossible. And this symbol at the top here symbolizes what is owed to me what the heavens have in store for me, what God has in store for me, let me have it. Let us receive it. Let us have it. So African people are linked in life and death with their ancestors can do what seems to be impossible, receiving what is owed to us. NCOBRA logo. So I don't know if somebody want to give me a beat or I could do this just music in my head. Fine. Warriors, we thank you for showing us an example of courage. Libation. Everybody take a deep breath in. Breathe out slowly. Breathe in again. Breathe out. Creator, known by many names, sometimes called God, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, Olu, Dumare, Olu, Yiyame, Olukuru. We give thanks in this now moment, this day that we have gathered as warriors for NCOBRA, more importantly, warriors for reparations. We have come to honor our ancestors. We know that this is a part of the healing. This is a part of our reparations. Remembering our stories, remembering our stories. And so we give thanks and praises as we come today to remember and to honor this story. Ashe. We give thanks and praises for what we know is sometimes called angels or rishas, nekarus, spirit guides, who, when we know how to call on them, when we know how to vibrate and calibrate ourselves with their energies, they will work with us, support us, to do the work that we need to do the Kazi, bringing about healing and reparations for ourselves and our people and those that are born. Okay? We give thanks and praises for our great ancestors who first walked on earth, that created civilization, math, science, technology, family, government, medicine, healing, culture, language, politics, everything, the foundation. Our African ancestral civilization builders, nation builders, kingdom builders, we give thanks and praises for the example that you gave us, the example that you give the world. I say,
Yes, sir.
we give thanks and praises and recognize those that we took our culture, high culture civilization, knowledge, science, math, of maritime, of warrior skills, education to all around the world and create civilization in what's now known as North America, South America, Asia, Australia, all over. We were the ones who first brought culture and civilization to the whole planet. Ashe. And yet and still we know there was a time when invaders came into our lands, forcefully removed us. We fought back. We fought back, Ashe. Yet some were captured. And even those fought back. We have a profound example of the Amistad, Ashe. Yet some of us made it here to these shores and continue to build culture and civilization in what's now known as, sometimes called Turtle Island but also now known as America. We give thanks and praises for those ancestors who worked the fields and cleared the land and dug the ditches and canals and built what is now known as the United States of America. Ashe. And we never stopped fighting, we never stopped resisting, having maroon communities going into the woods, going into the mountains, going into the swamps, again, for freedom, for power, for strength. Ashe. Let's honor our family ancestors at this time. Our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers. Call out those names that whisper in your ear that guide you to continue to do this work of healing and reparation. Ashe. Raise slaves, having these slaves, in your eyes and things, Goliath, my mother. Give thanks and praises for your sacrifices, for your prayers, for your works, for the foundations you laid for us generations. When we pour libations, we close this out to our children and our children's children. It is our prayer on this day, at this now moment, June 26th, of us, we've already started realizing reparations. Talking to somebody in the hotel today and said, I don't know about that reparations. I said, brother, it's already happened. We just got to continue to bring more of it into existence. Ashe. And so in the spirit of continuing reparations and continuing those who want to move back home to Africa, those who want to move to other places on the planet, those that seek that claim us a sovereign nation within the borders of the United States. We do this work to bring that into manifestation. Ashe. We say Ashe. 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 At this time, just have anybody that want to share any reflections, what you learned about the story, the importance of us honoring our ancestors.
I think it's interesting that I personally end up here at this moment and at this time, because just last week, my husband, who is from Anambra State in Nigeria, did not know the story of the Amistad. So we watched the movie 3 days before I came here.
Wow, it's fresh.
So and we have been talking about it and talking about the artist that played Sinke and the fact that he did a documentary on his way of life, Roots to Heaven, right. And we also watched that as well. And so I sent a picture of the announcement from the booklet to my husband, because he's in Washington State right now, and I said, look where I'm going this morning. And so I just thought that, it's amazing how spirit manifests things and bring things together. So definitely I appreciate the effort put forth to bring this about, and I am grateful for being in this space at this time. Thank you.
If you want to know, there are one of the things that was done were artist drawings of each of the 53.
Oh, wow.
So Foon, there is a drawing of what he looked like. And you can find it online if you look for images of the Amistad folk. Foon's memory is there.
You know what dawned on me when we were doing this and when you were telling the story, you said that most of them went back except Foon. And if he wasn't here, we wouldn't know his story. So he's serving. It's the ancestors serving us. So telling us that story.
Ancestral marker.
Yeah. So that we still have that connection.
Yes.
I mentioned Talladega College because when my first child was growing up, and ready to go away to college. And she wanted to go to New York City, any college, it didn't matter. She wanted to go to Atlanta, any college, it didn't matter. I was like, look, you're going to school to learn. So this gentleman in the community, Bernie Streets, he said, hey, where your daughter going to college? He's like, man, I'm trying to figure that out. He said, had you ever thought about Talladega? I said, I ain't never heard of Talladega. And he's like, yeah, you know, check it out. So I told my daughters, like, look, I'm sending you to Talladega. You do your first year at Talladega, and you show me you're serious about doing your schoolwork. You know, I send you anywhere you want to go. She went down there, and there's what's it, Diego Rivera, I think is a muralist.
The mural
of the Amistad mural. Yeah, you know. And she went down there. She met the granddaughter of Olatunji. You know, they founded a dance troupe. You know, before she left, they founded a scholarship for the community, young children in the community down there. So that's just one of the connections, and I'm really honored to be here. I was telling Bishop John that right now I'm working on a project with the NAACP up in Manchester, New Hampshire, called Discovery for the Culture, where we are taking the children, actually we set it up where they watch a movie and then they do a visit. And so they're going to watch the Amistad, and then they're going to get their schedule to come here to Hartford to visit the Amistad replica. So, you know, the number of connections.
Awesome. Awesome. I share.
And more stories, reflections. I just wanted to say, this is always a time I call it the invitation, like right in your church you do the invitation. But this is the invitation for the work of the Ashe Committee, as I see it, basically those people who see the importance of doing spiritual work towards reparations, right? We know we live in this European construct, and so some stuff is going to play out in the courts, or some stuff may play out in Congress and local municipalities and all of that. But I assert that the real power that we have in the spirit realm. And I've heard stories of how people have done things to get courts to change their minds, or go to vote the way that they would like them to vote, or to do certain things. There's a power that we have, I assert, is more powerful than drones and atomic weapons and all that. That's our spiritual Ashe. And so when we tap into that, we can be victorious. And so this is the, you don't have to do it now, but if you're interested in the work of the Ashe Committee, just give me a call, email, say, hey, Brother Smokey, I'm interested in doing this work, and joining you in this work.
Can I say something? I don't know, I
Yes.
came a little late, I
Sure.
apologize. Good to see you, Bishop.
Hey!
It's a leader. I want to acknowledge the first time, we didn't come here, but we were on a walk called and actually Kathleen was with me, the Interfaith Pilgrimage of the Middle Passage. We retraced slavery. And we walked from the U.S. eastern part to Cuba. We took a schooner into Cuba, only people that were allowed then with our delegation to walk, and then to all the islands, and then to South America, and then to Africa, and we ended with Nelson Mandela. And because we started in Massachusetts, this is the first place that we went to, was to Connecticut. In walking 20 miles a day, we were in prayer, spiritually walking 20 miles a day, so we were in shape by the end of it, right? But at that time, we did this every day. We did a ceremony at a place. If we were in Massachusetts, we did it in the city hall, because there was a tree where the lynchings were in Massachusetts, and they made a chair out of it, and it was in city hall. So because it was interfaith, and we had monks, Rastas, priests, Yoruba, we had Catholic, we had Muslim, the monks were like, well, boom, they made that noise in that city hall because of this tree that was made into a chair in city hall, and we shook the sound of what happened with all of us there doing a ceremony. And when we came here, we went on the Hermestad boat, you know, the ship. So I'm really grateful to be here because although we were on the water for this part of our trip, it's really good tonight. And one of the things that we do, if that's okay, the songs I wanted to share in thanking the ancestor in every part of the diaspora that we went to, including, you know, all the different islands, warriors, even some of the prisons we went to. There is a song, and we just do this where we're, you know, making sure to bring the fruit, to bring the incense, to bring the flowers, to pour the libation, every place that our descendants have struggled and continued on despite the fact we're coming over in the waters. And that song is A People United Within Themselves, We Can Be Happy. And the chorus part is, if y'all can say that part with me. A people united within themselves, we can be free. We're gonna sing a song about our freedom. We're gonna sing a song about our healing. We're gonna sing about our lives. We thank you. We thank you, ancestor, that has given us this path to come and celebrate you. May we be here and may we enjoy this day and continue to reflect on those that have given us this path that we're on in this purpose work. Ashe.
So we leave in celebration though, right? We leave in celebration because we have victory. As a people, we have come so far. We've done a lot. We got a lot to do. There's no doubt about it. But we leave in victory. So in victory, we will sing another song, and a gungun song, which is, everybody knows this song, believe it or not. You already know this song. Watch this. Come by here and gungun, come by here. Come by here, gungun, come by here. Come by here, gungun, come by here. Oh, come by here. Come by here, gungun, come by here. Come by here, gungun, come by here. Come by here, gungun, come by here. Oh, come by here. I told you knew that song.
All right, so we're going to just, any more comments or reflections? All right, so we're going to close out. We'll just form a circle. Normally do.
Do you want to encapsulate the,
Right. Yeah, bring it in.
They want you to be a part of this.
Huh? We should probably let's see, balance the men and women out if we can a little bit. We got more. I'm sorry, just come in.
No, so we need to balance it.
Oh, okay, here we go. All right, there we go. That's it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry that I'm late, but I'd just like to make a contribution.
Certainly.
Come on now.
Our ancestor, thank you for all that you have done for us and this country.
And sometimes in the tradition of pouring libation, we say the person's name 3 times. So let's say his name 3 times. Boom, 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 boom. Ashe. And also we know Sembe Pew. Sembe Pew. Sembe Pew. Sembe Pew. We thank you. And all the ones that we don't know your names, that were example of courage and freedom and made your way back home. Ashe.
Ashe.
And all those that helped and assisted them in that journey, Reverend Pennington and others. Ashe.
Ashe. Yeah.
So we do this closing where you say your name, And just call in response. You'll follow me. Say, I.
I,
Jumoke Petayo.
Victoria,
Am a link in this chain.
am a link in this chain,
And it won't break here.
and it won't break here.
I.
I,
Jumoke Petayo.
Rashid.
I'm a link in this chain, and it gets stronger here.
I'm a link in this chain. It gets stronger.
I, Jumoke Petayo, am a light in this universe.
am a light in this universe,
And it gets brighter here.
and it gets brighter here.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you all for coming and being a part of this ceremony. Thank you, NCOBRA, for us doing this. Safe travels for everyone as you're returning home. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
Bishop.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you, New England Planning Committee,
Yes, thank you.
for hosting the convention.
Do they have,
I am the grandson of enslaved person.
You said that, who was that?
My grandfather was enslaved.
NCOBRA, but the planning committee?
I got so much stuff.
You mean the youth commission? I don't
Yeah,
know.
do you
That's
have
what I'm
one?
asking.
We do have a youth commission, but she's talking about, I think you're talking about like children. So the youth commission is more young adults, like,
Okay, I'm speaking from the time that they can really speak,
okay,
Now it's
right.
in the people's house. See all the
you know,
work I got.
or understand up to, because I feel that something this, I mean, this is huge. I mean, it's done a lot for me, and I wish this reminds me of the things I used to go through too in Philadelphia with my parents when they started out with the movement and things like that. And this is really awesome. But my kids never had the opportunity to experience what we did as youth in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I wish they did, because that's kind of the strength that I've been able to go with and help me get through living in New Hampshire. And so, you know, I'm just, oh no, it's true though.
No, it's true.
You know, the things that we were able to see, you know, and the things that we knew, that movement was, it was very, I understood my roots and where my strength came from. You know, it's helped me not to break through the life that I've had to live through that area. And, but that's not what my kids know. So it would be awesome to know, to help, to give them something bigger to understand where their strength and their roots came from, so that they believe in God and they know that's their strength. That's what they default to. But knowing their true history and that we're not a weak people, they know that. But if they had known it at a younger age, it took years to help build them from what they had gone through in school. Do you know what I'm saying? And what they're told about themselves and what they're called. You know, because we're doing it at home and in our family, but they see their teachers and their classmates, you know, 8 hours in a day, right? And we're at work. You know, so it's a lot of reinforcement that we had to do. I mean, a lot of reinforcement. You know, and still that inner self that speaks to them, you know, will be their friends many times, going through those years of vulnerability, the years that they are vulnerable. So I just thought that if we start our kids a lot younger with this information and showing them, you know, I don't know, that's...
And the sister and I have talked about that. Like, I have those struggles also.
Same here.
With, you know, the generations that are coming up now, where we're so occupied with so many things that, you know, by the time we get home and, you know, and go through the thought process of, you know, I'm depriving you of information that you need because we're so exhausted, you know. And so as a result, like, I brought my son now, you know. But I think Brother Jamoke really, in his libation, talked about, you know, kind of tapping into this vein, you know, and we're in this link and it's unbreakable. So I think some of the advantages that we have is that, you know, we've created like this great link here. We have Sister Jerry Ann Bogus that came straight from the Black Heritage Trail. You know, we have our sister here. I mean, everybody here, you know, like, this is a created link. And I guess, you know, you know, for me, we have the Black Heritage Trail right there, and I haven't brought my son there. So I think it's about like, you know, having the support of everyone to kind of push us through the barriers of the exhaustion and the tiredness. Say, you know, and you know, we live in the same state, just kind of like setting, you know, getting together, just you and I, and bringing our boys to the Black Heritage Trail, bringing them back here. You know, we have the brother here from the congregation, from the, I'm sorry, brother, the,
Amistad?
yes, the Amistad Church. You know, we have our peer, our pioneer in New Hampshire that, you know, continuously encourages us.
Yes, he does.
And knowing full well the challenges we all face. We have NCOBRA here. We have a powerful link here.
We do. I'm talking about getting many youth together at one
6,
time.
7, 8.
So like how we're here together,
4, 3,
and
7.
we feel the strength amongst each other, and we're able to do that. But putting them all in a group and experiencing this at the same time is power in that. My son came. Yes, and my son came with my husband 2 years ago. Was it? 3 years ago. It had to be about 3 years ago because COVID happened. So I'm thinking right before COVID, and he came. Say it again.
Yeah.
Detroit.
Okay, to Detroit, right? And he came back like, wow, you know. So I know that it could be a powerful thing for our youth.
We've had
as a young adult.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Go ahead.
No, we have had conversations in NCOBRA about doing like a reparations camp and doing those type of activities with young people. We just haven't done it.
And we do have Camp Pumzico folks in here. I took my children out of school as a teacher to homeschool them with Camp Pumzico. I was one of the teachers. And so some of us are, that's the whole thing. It's like we can do it again. Some of us have been doing it in our different areas. I was with Ahmed Obafemi, and a lot of us built that homeschooling. But I think that's the thing. How do we bring us all together and support each other, even if your kids are in school still?
Yeah. We have the oldest living elder I know of. Right here.
That's right.
Flesh, you know. Okay. We're not visiting him in you know, we have him here in the flesh, and I think that you know, whenever I'm around the general, he just encompasses, you know, so much history and years of like things that we're just learning about. And so thank you also, Brother General.
I am the grandson of an enslaved person. Yeah.
I'd just like to make a comment. This whole reunion, this whole convention, it's a convention, but it's like a reunion, it's like family, you know, has been great. So we want to give all praises to the chapter pulling together a awesome,
my grandmother was a generation that came out of slavery.
quality.
Thank you.
Support.
Yes.
So the camera gonna get confused. We got all these conversations. That's good too. Okay.
We need to get you on there too to talk about your ancestor. Oh, I would love to hear it.
And, you know,
I don't want to put you on the spot. I think it's important that we hear from
got
you
the
because
circle
of
with
your
the former
ancestors.
This is just
Everyone's talking now.
I I'm from the sharecropper, so we don't have much history except some cast iron.
Okay, keep coming. I go.
Amen.
Yeah, we got a reflection here. We want to have
402 17. I'm sorry. I really didn't want to stand out and say anything, but I'm really new to NCOBRA. This is my first experience with NCOBRA, and my first, I think my...
Are y'all listening?
All right.
Are y'all listening?
Reparations committee.
But I am a retired school principal, and the reason I know about Amistad is because I saw the movie. Now, as a retired school principal, I came up through the ranks, through the colleges, through all levels. I've got my master's degree. I have a doctorate degree, but I have never, ever in all of my educational experience been exposed to anything like this in school or at the college level. And even so, even as a leader of a school, I've never had this experience, this information put out into the classroom. So if there's a way NCOBRA can connect with your schools when you go back home and share and help to create an environment. Now you may not have this environment to go and pay homage, but we need to create an environment at the schools. Talk to the principals, to the leaders, because now this information, a lot of information has come out through COVID. Tulsa, all kinds of information. We need to get into these schools and talk to the leaders of the schools and let them understand that this kind of information is so valuable for our Black, and not just our Black kids, all kids need to know this and understand this.
Because they really feel like Black people came from nothing, you know, and that we were only slaves. That's all they hear. That's all they read.
You don't know what you don't know.
So you don't, right.
And like I said, I saw this on a TV, in a movie. This is the first time I've ever been to a ceremony like this. I'm 71 years old. So if there's a way that you can access the schools, people in your community, especially schools, Black and brown schools, especially.
I know.
And
girl, the white schools too.
Yes,
yes.
That's
Yeah, I said it.
Everybody.
Oh, okay.
Everybody.
I go for a minute.
So I'm sorry for talking so much, but you know, as educators, you know that's what we do. And I'm sorry. But please, we got to get this out. We got to get our masses.
You all will make that announcement.
No, we just needed to get the van out. Yeah, so we're going to get the airport. Right. We're going to end today's ceremony and head back and know that not only this place is here, but there are other places as well in your communities around the country.
Yeah, I would love for you guys to come to New Hampshire and do this for Ona Judd. We know where she's buried. She's in the middle of the woods. There's her headstone, a little teeny marker is all broken, but the dirt, the ground's been disturbed so many times with the snowmobiles going by, and it needs to be sanctified. So
where is that?
it's in New Hampshire. Wheeler, New Hampshire. Ona Marie Judd. She escaped from George and Martha Washington.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story.
Yes.
Isn't that a great story?
Yeah, that's a great story.
She's buried.
He did everything to track her down.
So this is the end of our Amistad thing. You want to say something?
No, I just want to get everybody out of here so I can get to the airport.
Okay.
Judge, yeah.
All right. So there's many of our people buried here, and our blood is here.
President George Washington and Martha Washington. Oh my God. Yeah, she escaped.
What we're going to do is we're going to move
sent slaves back
for her. And then you all can get out.
You got to move the car.
Want to say the last word?
The last word?
Yeah. Quick.
Spiritual, historical occasion, and I think all of us have been touched in one way or another with an understanding of why we do this work, why reparations is so important. We all deserve it and all need it.
And you are who?
I'm Kamal Jawanza.
Yes, sir.
Ashe.